Hello and welcome to the GameShow Invitational. Unfortunately, my mic was muted for the first bit of that, but either way, we'll get into it. This is going to be a best of three between North Legion, who are 30 minutes late, and Next.KZ. I'm Grandis V. I'll be joined by Coucher for the first game of this series, as we should be getting underway into the draft pretty shortly.
Yeah, North Legion were really just cutting it close there. They had, well, time until this point here to just get 5 people. They managed to do so barely, but coming into this game, North Legion, I managed to cast them yesterday as well up against the basically unknown it was, and they just got crushed, like completely slapped around pretty much. So I'm not too sure if coming into today they're going to do a little bit better, but since they do have at least one stand-in, it's not giving me too much hope really.
Well, I'll keep my hopes at least reasonably high and just say that maybe it was a bad day for them, and hopefully they'll be able to put up a decent fight up against Next.KZ. We're going to start things off with Undying and Beastmaster banned out, but they're also eating through a decent chunk of the reserve time, so these early bans are taking quite a while. Seems that North Legion are scared of a timing aura-based push, now banning out the Chen.
Yeah, whereas Next.KZ, whoa, Undying ban, yes, rather just common. Night Stalker though, I suppose Night Stalker is played rather often, at least in the higher levels of Dota at the moment as well. But is Night Stalker really that scary, or is it a like designed ban and you're gonna go for something that absolutely must not face a Night Stalker?
I think Night Stalker just is that scary, in all honesty. The reduced vision from darkness on wards is very annoying to go up against. During that duration, you really can't go for anything when you don't have vision up. And also, just the threat of having ganks every nighttime is always there. It's going to be a Queen of Pain for North Legion, Io for Next.KZ, some really high-tier heroes that have been left through the pool, maybe because of some more peculiar bans. But honestly, I think the first four bans are more or less standard, in all honesty. Lion's going to follow up that Io, so Next.KZ are going to hold on their Io partner for a little bit later on in the draft.
Yeah, that way you can quite easily just kind of bait out a couple of bans. Of course, North Legion, I do expect them to ban out a Tiny. It is probably the scariest IO partner. It's rather just standard in the performance, or doesn't really fluctuate all that much. I mean, IO Tiny is always going to be at least somewhat troublesome to the enemy. So I really do expect the Tiny to be banned, and well, what do you know, first banned in the second phase.
Yeah, no big surprises. Gyrocopter for North Legion is going to give them a lot of mid-game fighting damage, and their AoE is pretty impressive, although maybe their lockdown suffers a little bit. North Legion still have a reasonable opener. You can't always bump the Gyrocopter in towards a support role if the case allows it, but for the time being, I think it's safe to assume this is your safe lane farming Gyro and mid Queen of Pain.
Yeah, it's probably the strongest position for the Gyrocopter to be in. I think yesterday or maybe 2 days ago, Virtus Pro tried to run like a Gyrocopter support as well. Didn't really work out all that well for them. Of course, every game can be different, but I think just safe lane Gyro or maybe aggressive tri-lane, but in the one position the Gyro is the best probably. Next set of bans though, North Legion, it's up to them now whether they want to ban out another companion of the IO there. Chaos Knight, I would like to see it, but feels like nobody's, I don't know, bold or brave enough to actually go for it in an actual like competitive game.
And I'm not sure this is the game for it. North Legion do have a decent amount of clear for those illusions between Gyrocopter's flat cannon and just Queen of Pain's raw AoE burst. I think that burst back would have been a little bit scarier in IO partner, and that's going to be banned out by North Legion. H apparition taken away by Next.KZ, further securing the EM IO pick.
Yeah, definitely solid ban there. As Next.KZ, they have their two supports, so they have a lot of core picking to do here. Storm Spirit is available if they want to go for that one as their mid laner, for example. If not, Shadow Fiend, maybe Elena could also be picked here. As far as offlaners go, Clockwork is still available. Maybe not the best though. Queen of Pain can blink away from the cogs. Gyrocopter can just activate Rocket Barrage and kind of kill the Clockwork while in those cogs. Of course you can still go for like a Centaur or Tide as well. Maybe Phoenix offlane.
Yeah, there's still plenty of options open up to them. Alrighty then. Yeah, it's up to Next.KZ at the moment. Lion and Io, although you probably are going to see an Io partner, they can still hold on to that one. It's going to be a Nyx, actually, for Next.KZ. This is a pretty interesting Nyx Assassin pickup. It's fairly early on inside the draft, and I don't think there's anything that necessarily is countered by Nyx, although Mana Burn late game is going to be a really huge amount of damage towards the Queen of Pain. She's not particularly the easiest hero for Nyx Assassin to kill by himself. Then again, Disruptor is, I suppose, as that's going to be the pick for Northern Legion. countering out the IO, allowing you to glimpse back either the IO or the IO partner, or just drop a static field kinetic, or static storm kinetic field on top of wherever they load into. It's going to be a Leshrac next for Next.KZ.
Huh, Next.KZ so far going rather magic heavy. I mean, physical damage wise, they don't really have all that much. Nyx Assassin maybe can go in with that Vendetta, do a little bit, Leshrac with Diabolic Edict, but that's where the physical damage really stops for them. Of course, they still have to pick up that IO partner as well, but their lineup, being up against like Cold Down, Sonic Wave, it's gonna struggle somewhat, and of course the Static Storm as well. If you take away Next.KZ's ability to cast spells, those heroes just don't do all that much.
Yeah, and that's pretty scary for them. I think Next.KZ's lineup does suffer quite a bit because of it, and they will have to look to pick up that late game IO partner with a lot of physical damage. Honestly, I think the Bristleback would have been ideal for them. We're very close to it, at the very least. North Legion now open up to their next pick. As far as offlane is concerned, I'd love to see a Centaur for them, I think. Line and IO, although they are reasonable at zoning out an offlane Centaur, you'd still be able to get a decent amount of experience and levels, and the Blink Hoofstop and Double Edge absolutely destroys Lion, IO, and Lesh, all very relatively weak heroes.
So we'll see if North Legion do want to go for that as well. No, never mind. Gonna leave that open for now. A Vengeful Spirit pick instead. Of course, with the Vengeful, it's just easier for you to go into Roshan, for example. Gyrocopter with the Rocket Barrage, and just maybe even Helm of Dominator, which seems to be a pretty popular item on him. Roshan, definitely North Legions to take at the moment. But Next.KZ banning out a Tidehunter, deeming that the scariest offlane hero that North Legion could go for.
That reduction of damage from the Anchor Smash is usually pretty good against most IO combinations. Not sure what they're going to go for. I'd love to see something like a Sven for Next.KZ, although that would leave them a little bit lacking when it comes to the front liner. It would rely very heavily on the Sven, getting a BKB up pretty quickly and just a lot of stat items.
So, North Legion themselves, what is the ban going to be? They don't have all that much time even, because they definitely have been struggling a little bit more, and oh, it's going to be the Ursa. Would have been a pretty nice addition to the team. I do believe yesterday, or maybe someday, you already mentioned just that Ursa is actually one of the partners that you would like to see with the IO.
For sure, whenever you have the overcharge at max level and Ursa pops his ultimate, he takes literally no damage, which is absolutely absurd. If you can get a BKB up for the Ursa as well, during that 4-second duration, he's absolutely unstoppable. And, well, instead it's going to be a lone druid for Next.KZ. It's very interesting to see them pick up the IO so early on and then not pick up a traditional IO partner. These heroes, although everybody benefits from the extra healing and mana that comes out from Tether, aren't particularly good when it comes to just dropping the relocate bombs across the map. In fact, if they do go for offensive relocates, I'd expect it to be the Lion to be the one taken in to help out with the Nyx Assassin gank.
I just feel like it was them being like, okay, Tiny isn't gonna get banned out, or well, at least Bristleback is gonna be left open if not, but maybe they really weren't expecting both of those to be banned out and they didn't want any other partner there. But North Legion themselves, it's gonna be Spirit Breaker as their last one, so that's gonna be their offlane. Gonna be pretty decent once you hit that level 6 and just kind of trying to assassinate the IO as fast as you can. Charge him, then use the Nether Strike, and don't really need all that much more early on.
North Legion's lineup looks a lot more standard, and for good reason. I think their game plan is just a little bit more reliable than what Next.KZ have. But if Next.KZ are able to get a little bit of early momentum and their lanes don't completely fail, and they win a couple of team fights in the mid-game, their tower pushing damage is ridiculous, especially if Leshrac decides to invest into Diabolic Edict points, and even without it, just the lone druid by himself completely demolishes structures. So this is potentially a little bit scary for North Legion, but if they're just allowed to play their game plan looks really solid.
It's definitely looking solid, but execution, of course, is always the thing that you have to have in mind as well. But as we get into the game, to introduce the lineups for the side of North Legion on the Dire side, we are going to have Kidaro, the stand-in, playing the Vengeful Spirit with Dylan on the Queen of Pain, Oyoyoy to be the Spirit Breaker with Son of Darkness on the Disruptor, and leaving Copy to be the last one on the Gyrocopter.
And for the Next.KZ side, we're going to have Kesik Imbo or Topor Boz playing on the Lone Druid. Nobody's actually using their normal names, or at least for the most part, we're going to have Zan playing on the Leshrac, Lucky on the Lion, and, well, I guess that leaves David on the IO, and Nyx Assassin played by Cordy22 Mute Unfortunately for me, those last two did have their names hidden from me on Steam, so I couldn't actually check out who is who, but yeah, we'll just have to leave it at that. The next assassin's going to go ahead and place out his ward, and then they'll look to sit on this top bounty rune. Could be a pretty hot contest for this, as North Legion also have a few heroes, but Disruptor goes up the high ground. The Impale and the Split Earth is going to miss. Rock Barrage damage from the Gyrocopter is going to be pretty immense into the Nyx assassin as he gets cut off from the rest of his team. They tether up to the other hero and then deny off the Nyx with that IO. Pretty slick play there as an Earth Spike again is going to be thrown out as Gyrocopter gets another Rocket Barrage off, going to throw a lot of damage into Zen as the Leshrac is dropping low, tethered up with the IO to slow down the Gyro, trying to get away, but more Rocket Barrage damage is going to secure the first blood for Son of Darkness as North Legion, although the scoreboard says 2-0, is going to start things off with just one kill.
Still a pretty good start for them, and even though the hero got denied, it's a little bit of a kind of a mental victory for you, especially if you do get the actual first blood afterwards. But fighting into a Gyrocopter that early on, the Rocket Barrage is just one of the highest damaging abilities, and it's so spammable because it's on a low cooldown. Plus, you can spam it at least 3 times before you're gonna run into any mana issues. And not only that, even Disruptor's Thunderstrike is a fairly just reasonable damage ability. It's definitely heavy or taxing on your mana pool, but it does a lot of damage, plus it does into AoE as well a little bit if the heroes are close enough to each other.
Yeah, the lanes are going to settle down for both sides. Next.KZ going to throw the Lone Druid as their safe lane farmer. Lion as a zoning support to the Spirit Breaker, but for the time being needs to be pretty careful. Doesn't want to be smashed too much by that Spirit Breaker's flail. Up towards top, the Nyx assassin takes a lot of damage, but does survive. A little help from his poor man's shield, and will tango up to try to stick around in this lane. But as far as the two offlaners are concerned, the Nyx assassin should have a much harder time in general, but Oi 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 is actually getting zoned very heavily by the Lion. He hasn't seen a single creep of experience.
Yeah, that's pretty bad for now, but Lion, of course, is a little bit low on mana. Does have a clarity as well, but should be fine for a little while. But it's just Lone Druid really keeping up with the denies as well. Has 5 to his name at the moment, so making it so that the creep wave won't push out, at least not unnecessarily so. So a really nice lane control so far by the Lone Druid.
Yeah, for sure. Leshrac versus Queen of Pain inside the mid lane's a pretty interesting matchup. 4-2 on both sides. The Zen is going to be aggressively blinked on by Dylan, but the damage from the Queen of Pain isn't there immediately. Now tethered up with the IO, they get a Split Earth off, and the Queen of Pain, already using her blink, is going to go down. Wow, using that blink aggressively can really be punished. Such a long cooldown, level 1.
It didn't even feel like proper aggression. You just blinked next to him, threw out the Shadow Strike, and did nothing else, just started running back. I really didn't understand the meaning of it. Oh, Son of Darkness does get a haste run though. David now in some trouble. Should be fine though. Then again, the bottle is empty and Leshrac backing him up, Son of Darkness. Not gonna be just suicidal. Oh, Dylan comes in, gets the Shadow Strike, gets the kill, and the courier. No, one more attack. Well, that's worth it. Even if Dylan dies here, it's still a better trade for them. Although Dylan, yeah, he's definitely gonna go down. Maybe gets a Shadow Strike before his death though. Nope, cannot turn around. But Son of Darkness just attacking away, and he's gonna beat Leshrac, or is he? No, the bottle charges. Oh wow, that's just man fighting.
Alrighty then, so the end tally is going to be an IO kill and a courier for 2 deaths on the side of Northern Legion. That's probably still worth it for Northern Legion and the raw gold that they got and experience and what have you, but still a fairly even trade all things considered, even though they did get that courier snipe, because the Leshrac and the IO both retained their bottles. Neither one was on that courier flying in.
So at the moment, comparing offlaners, Nyx Assassin is still struggling somewhat level 2, but Spirit Breaker hasn't even hit that level. Level 2 is actually somewhat of a boost as now. Nyx Assassin gets stunned, there's a kinetic field as well. He does have the Spike Carapace, he's gonna have to activate it, but the body block and the kinetic field just last for long enough, so just they finally get the kill on the Nyx.
Yeah, even without being able to move the Gyrocopter's Rock Barrage damage was immense there. At the moment, 2 points into that and completed phase boots. This Nyx Assassin's not going to get any help inside this top lane.
Lucky bottom lane. One more attack is needed from Oi Oi Oi, but doesn't get the bash. So Lucky survives. Neither, of course, did Spirit Breaker have enough mana for another charge, but that was really close.
In the end, Spirit Breaker is going to be denied that kill away by the Lion. He should make his way all the way back to base, but not before stacking up a small camp. Although maybe a little bit greedy, the Spirit Breaker doesn't have vision of him. The Queen of Pain, if she aggressively blinks again, could end up going down another time. 1-2-1. Has had a pretty difficult time inside this mid lane, almost being doubled up CS-wise by the Leshrac as well. She's going to Shadow Strike and then blink up towards the top rune. That has been secured by Son of Darkness.
Mid lane though, are we gonna have some form of a gank coming in onto the Leshrac? He's under the effects of Shadow Strike and we have Son of Darkness close by, but what can he really do without a single point in the glimpse at the moment?
I don't think much at all, especially since the Eye is there to offer a little bit of healing help. Now level 2 does have access to Overcharge. Killing off Zan, although usually pretty easy, Middle Leshrac is a pretty papery hero and can be brought down very easily by ganks. This time around is going to be a little bit more difficult. Disruptor instead going to go up towards top, spotted out by the Nyx. Assassin's going to bump into him, but this is a fight that Disruptor probably ends up winning as long as he has a little bit of help from the rest of his team. No spike carapaces are going to be thrown out by the Nyx, and everybody just goes back home their merry way.
So if you're looking at the last hit numbers, it's still going slightly better, at least for Next.KZ. Lone Druid having better farm than the Gyrocopter in his own safe lane. And mid lane, Leshrac quite handily winning that one as well for now. 25-6 compared to the 15-5 score of Dylan. Of course, Dylan has died twice, whereas Leshrac only once, and has gotten also 3 kills to his name.
Yeah, that is a lot of gold income for the Nyx Assassin. He's going to pick up Arcane Boots, Magic Wand, Bottle. Some nice items to have 5.5 minutes into the game, and, well, a Leshrac with a lot of mana is a very scary Leshrac. Lucky's going to look for a wraparound on mid, potentially going to bump into the Queen of Pain. She walks up, but is able to blink out safely, although it was a pretty close call.
Yeah, all you need is that Hex to begin with, Earth Spike to follow, then there's already the setup for the Split Earth, which is even level 3, so the damage coming out is pretty strong. Not to mention, of course, the Lightning Storm to follow. Is it Lightning Storm? Yes! For a second I hesitated, but it was correct somewhere in my memory.
Leshrac going to go up towards the top rune, but he's going to bump into a Disruptor. Disruptor picks up the Invis, and with 3 heroes here, they should be able to turn around onto Zan, although with the Nyx Assassin there, and an Impel landing onto Dylan, they might kill off the Queen of Pain. She tries to get off the ultimate, but can't. The Io surviving over in the sidelines, bottling up, is going to end up going down to the Vengeful Spirit as they get a double kill charge into the Nyx. Coming out from Oi Oi Oi, he gets a Lucky Bash. Impale going to be turned on to 2 of them, as well as an Earth Spike from the sidelines, as Lucky's going to help secure that Vengeful Spirit kill. Hex onto Oi Oi Oi, he has another charge cooling down. They should get the vision for this one, and he is going to go straight onto that Nyx Assassin. There is no Impale available, not enough mana, and not enough cooldown, and will get the bash and should be able to get out safely, even though there's TPs coming into the tower. And Leshrac and Io would love to chase. I think everybody else should be able to get out unless they get a cutoff with the line from the sidelines. He's going to bump into Oi Oi Oi. He does have an Earth Spike, is going to commit that. Can they get in range for the stun from the Leshrac? Oi 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 going to charge away, and he should be home free here. Cancels the charge at about the center of the middle lane. They're going to hex up Dylan as they find the Disruptor over on the top of this fight. They'll stun him up and now bring him down with the Io Orbs and just a little bit more damage from the Leshrac.
And just the fighting lasts, just non-stop almost. Some lane, there's always going to be a little bit of action going on, it looks like. In top lane, maybe. And of course, top and bottom lane, I guess nothing is really happening. It's all just the focus on mid lane by both teams. And from that fight, I really liked how the Earth Spike went one way and the Nyx and Pale came like the exact same direction, but the opposite. So they kind of met up with each other. And for a second, I thought it's only one ability, but just because they are so similar in just the animation.
Yeah. The Midas is now up for the Spirit Bear for Next.KZ, so the Lone Druid is slightly higher farmed than his counterpart, the Gyrocopter, but the Lone Druid has also not been involved in as many kills, so that's going to even out pretty evenly, or pretty closely. Either way, up towards top, they might get yet another kill onto the Nyx Assassin, although an Impale lands under tower. There's no TP support to kill off this Gyro. Rocket doesn't end up killing off the Nyx Assassin, it's fairly low levels. The Leshrac dies to the Queen of Pain in mid.
What do you think of, by the way, Kidaro's Vengeful Spirit going for a first item Medallion of Courage? Not even getting boots first.
I can't say that I recommend going without boots on Venge. That extra positioning is so very useful when you're trying to get in range for a Magic Missile or a swap, but getting the first item, Medallion of Courage, I think is completely fine, and he is going to have enough gold for brown boots on top of that as well if he wants to fly those out to himself. So I think it's fine, although the order of operations is a little bit peculiar.
Yeah, it's probably I have to agree with you there as well. As top lane, we get the Lightning Storm copy. He's so low, one more attack, never mind. Mana burn, that range though. Has it always been that Future Wars is just a little bit lucky on it somehow?
Well, Lightning Storm has a fairly long cast range, and the cast animation is very long as well, so you can get some pretty ridiculous Lightning Storms off.
I mean, the mana burn of Nyx Assassin felt like it was super wrong.
Yeah, that too. He would have died either way, so I'm not sure that that matters. But, yeah, I don't know. That spell also has a pretty finicky cast animation, so there is always the chance that you get those very stretchy mana burns.
Oh, there's a charge coming into Lucky at the moment. Spirit Breaker wants some blood, but Leshrac, of course, is close by as well. Just use the Lightning Storm, blink forward, Scream of Pain, Shadow Strike, and Lucky. He's gonna go down, and with the Nether Strike, they also get the Leshrac. That's two really easy kills for them.
Lone Druid comes in from the sidelines, gets a root over onto Kitaro. They're going to swap him back into a Spirit Breaker, who does get a bash onto Tapor. They'll slow him down, scream him down. He's not going anywhere. The perma bash is from the Spirit Breaker. Can they kill him off with a little bit of healing help from the Io? He's still surviving. Tapor over on the sideline survives on 10 HP, but a little bit more Shadow Strike damage would have done it. They will get the deny off onto the Lone Druid after all is said and done. That's going to be a handful of kills going to the Northern Legion side. A pretty well executed gank coming out from the Spirit Breaker in particular. Good decision with who to Nether Strike, and they end up getting both of the kills.
So North Legion looking pretty damn solid at the moment. A 5-kill lead as well. And Graves, well, net worth used to be in Next.KZ's favor, probably just because Lone Druid had so much farm on the safe lane. But it is about a 500-600 lead now for North Legion. Might update a little bit as well. XP also taking their turns, just about a 1500 lead now for North Legion.
Alright, let's go ahead and farm up over on the sidelines. Unfortunately for the Next.KZ side, they don't have any stacks prepared. I'm not sure if Northern Legion do either, but both teams would be wise to get that extra bit of income. The Gyrocopter and Leshrac can both fairly easily farm up those stacks. Instead of going for the Helmet of Dominator earlier, the Gyrocopter is going to instead commit into a Yasha, so maybe he wants to fight a little bit faster, but this is going to slow down his farm a little bit. Charge onto the Nyx Assassin, they have a glimpse available. It's going to be pretty short, but probably just enough with Call Down landing. And the first charge is going to be blocked by the Impale, and a 3-man Impale, and Son of Darkness is down. The charge is a little too far away. He's going to eventually come in. Now Nether Strike up the Nyx Assassin with a missile landing. They'll kill off Gordy, swap back, and Gordy's still surviving with the overcharge and a turnaround Impale. He's still going to go down, however, as a Sonic Wave secures the double kill for Dylan. A 2-for-1 they probably shouldn't have gotten in the beginning, but now Lucky's charged down by the Spirit Breaker. There's no escaping with a blink and scream. It's a triple kill for your Queen of Pain.
It looked good for Next.KZ, but only for a really small time there. Not too sure if just them going on the aggressive themselves paid off. If they also had the Leshrac there or the Spirit Bear or well, the Lone Druid to this, it maybe would have worked out, but it was really just free supports more or less. After the Vendetta, after the Impale, just lacked the damage as Son of Darkness mid lane. Tries to deny, and they get the tower denied, the charge coming in, and they will lose their Leshrac also. It's looking iffy for Next.KZ at the moment, and I'm not too sure if Lone Druid is the kind of hero that can carry this game for them.
Yeah, at the moment, Next.KZ are just not winning any fights, or at least it hasn't felt like it for the last couple minutes of the game. They haven't been fighting as their full unit. Usually it's them getting caught up by the Spirit Breaker's charge instead of them getting a jump or getting hacks onto somebody and following up with the combination coming out from the Leshrac. Their hero is still do quite a lot of damage, but Leshrac's item progression has been completely stopped. He's been sitting on these same items for about 4 minutes or so. Up towards top, there will be a very easy snipe by the Nyx Assassin on the Disruptor. Catching out a solo support like that as a Nyx is exactly what you want to be doing. I'll kill him off with just the Vendetta Impale.
So for Lone Druid, the Radiance is probably gonna be the item because I can't really figure out what else he would be saving for at the moment if he has 2.6k in the bank. If the Radiance comes, yes, it's gonna be pretty useful. You can like split push and everything, and they're still not falling that far behind, although they are losing heroes quite a bit, just because some of them have been constantly farming. The latest death though on Leshrac maybe hurt them a little bit more than the others beforehand, just because not only did they die, the tower also got denied there. But considering the kill lead that North Legion has, they're not that far ahead yet.
Yeah, and that is something they need to be wary of. If they can delay this game to where the Lone Druid gets Radiance plus another item, that's where he really becomes a super scary split-pushing threat and can really put a lot of pressure onto the towers, even if the rest of his team is behind. They'll group up pretty close together. We now have the Lone Druid resummoning his Spirit Bear, probably just to go ahead and farm. Although Northern Legion don't know about it, if they kill off the Lone Druid in the next minute or so, that could be problematic for him. He's getting fairly close towards his relic goal, just shy of 1,000 gold away.
Also, just now I checked the Queen of Pain's inventory. Has an Ogre Club there. I'm kind of hoping that it's going to be turned into an Aghanim Scepter, but I have a funny feeling that it's going to be first item BKB. Of course, this game BKB is going to be pretty solid because you're up against a hell of a lot of lockdown, but first item BKB Queen of Pains never seem to work out somehow.
Yeah, I personally would like to see Agnums into BKB as their item progression. I think that's a good way about it. You kind of need the extra tank, however, so I think getting the Ogre Club first before going into the Ags is also a reasonable way about it. She has enough gold for the Mithril Hammer, so we'll just have to wait and see what that item is going to settle down to be. There's a charge up towards top onto the Io. He's over in the sidelines, and this charge is going to be spotted out by a tower and by a lone druid. He cancels it right in the face of Tapor, but eventually Oyoyoy is going to just casually walk that one off. Nobody else was close enough.
So it's going to be Topor now, getting extremely close to that Sacred Relic at least. Missing only about 300 gold from that one. And that 300 should actually come with those Ancients, or well, more or less so at least. Hand of Midas going to be off cooldown in 45 seconds, although Dylan, with the Invision still lasting for a little while, they're going to go on to QWERTY. No chance at all.
No, absolutely not. Couldn't even activate the Spike Carapace. Dylan's now on an unstoppable spree, and he is actually going to go for first item BKB. I don't like this. It's going to slow down his ability to do damage inside the fights, and those first couple of usages of BKB are going to be so very crucial for them. If Northern Legion don't crush the fights when that happens, it probably would have been better for the Queen of Pain to go just for the more standard and potentially safer Aghanim Scepter pickup, although that sounds weird to say that it's safer to go for Ags over BKB. Although you might survive more with the Black King Bar, your damage output is pretty limited, or at the very least tied completely down to the sonic waves that you're able to get out.
It's definitely a risky item choice, in my opinion as well, in all honesty, but it may work out. Oh, they get the swap. He got the Spike Carapace off, but it's only level 2. I don't think it's going to save him. Maybe he can at least turn around this time. He gets a double one. Earth Spike to follow from Lucky. With the Finger of Death, Queen of Pain goes down. The Static Storm is preventing them from doing too much else, but Son of Darkness hexed. And now, Oyoyoy, can he get the counter kill? Doesn't look like it with the amount of regen they have from the IO, but he does get the charge to safety for now.
Oyoyoy will cancel the charge and TP out. Looks like he's going to be home free. It looks like Northern Legion lost a little bit more than they should be comfortable with. The Static Storm and Call Down was pretty good coming out from them, but they weren't able to focus down anybody but the Nyx Assassin, which is unfortunate for them. And all the while, you have your Lone Druid farming over in the sidelines. He should have his Relic all the way done, has that on his Spirit Bear, and is getting very close to having Radiance. After going for Midas, getting the Radiance at this timing is pretty darn good. In fact, he's almost at 8,000 net worth. A good chunk ahead of where the Gyrocopter is sitting.
That's a just perfect position for him to be in as well, and that's what Next.KZ need. If they would be otherwise just bleeding heroes and not having the Lone Druid farm that way, it would be a whole different game all of a sudden. It would give just so much extra time for North Legion themselves to farm up. And on that note, do you think North Legion, should they maybe, oh, never mind, mid lane, they want to go for QWERTY again, they have the dust, and with the Nether Strike, they should get the kill there. A few extra attacks are necessary, but he's gonna go down in the end.
Queen Ping gets that last hit, and now the Leshrac comes in the sidelines. It always seems that it's the Nyx Assassin that dies. At 8 deaths this game. Not to say that he's playing necessarily very poorly, but Northern Legion have been on the ball with killing him off, but I think they do need to focus a little bit more onto this Lone Druid. He's just kind of been bubbling under the surface. Although Tapor has died once, he has a full Radiance at 17.5 minutes in on top of Midas. His farming speed is going to be ridiculous. Granted, he doesn't have boots on his bear, but that can be remedied very quickly.
Yeah, now that the Radiance and the Midas both are there, the boots definitely will come quick. Of course, if he even wants boots on him, maybe he's like, okay, Spirit Bear, 380 movement speed, we're gonna be fine without as well. Of course, as a Spirit Bear, you want to have as much uptime as you can if you're actually joining fights, but for Next.KZ, it doesn't look like that's their plan anytime soon. Maybe just gank with the rest of them, or just try to make it so that North Legion won't be able to push too much, because they have only destroyed one tower so far, and that's probably like one of the downsides to the dire side. They don't have just a great pushing lineup at all.
Yeah, even without the boots, with the extra buff applied by the Lone Druid, he's moving at a reasonable amount of movement speed, so yeah, maybe you're right, maybe just forgoes boots entirely. Northern Legion, it kind of feels like they're on the back foot now. They've lost a lot of their momentum that they got earlier on in the game, and although Gyro is going to be working towards the BKB and Queen of Pain has hers finished, these next couple fights are really going to be telling for this game. If they crush them, they're still in it, but if they trade evenly, that's very unfortunate for them. This is one of their soft peaks when they have both of the 10-second BKBs.
But they will get the tower down. Spirit Bear just tanks it up a little bit. They might get the kill. Glimpse back onto KZ with the call down to follow. Static Storm as well. Oh no, relocate down. You're kidding me, right?
That's going to save the Lone Druid's life, although the bear is going to go down, or is it going to save his life? Nether Strike will secure that kill onto the Lone Druid over in the sidelines. Io's still surviving as this fight is getting spread out. Finger of Death is going to be thrown, and, well, they're going to drop Oi, 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 very low. David's dropping to the rocket barrage, but they kill off the gyrocopter as he's going to get a triple kill for Zan. Double kill for Dylan as it's a 4-for-4 trade. The mid laners are the only ones that live after all is said and done, and I think that honestly favors the Next.KZ side just a little bit. That's Bloodstone charges for the Lesh, and Queen of Pain's BKB is only going to get lesser in duration as the game progresses. It was an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, the relocate, it was kind of a quirky one there. Didn't even get him back to the base or anything, so they just lacked the regeneration to get the lone druid up to full health. They relocated him back to the trees here, and well, he still ended up going down without really doing too much in the fight, just because when the relocate came, the Spirit Bear got focused straight after. And well, with that fight, Queen of Pain at least got quite a bit of gold. I think he got like 1.2k from it, or at least close enough to it. And now mid lane, Kechikimba, the charge is already coming. He's slowed down at Kechikimba. Man, top border, change your name, dude. Such a low move, low blow, I don't know, but he does make it out.
And in the end, Oi 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 is going to end up canceling his charge. Double split Earth. Now the follow-up with the Hex Earth Spike. They'll kill off Dylan. And now the Nether Strike is going to be thrown. Oi 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 is going to go straight onto David as they focus down Zan up in the north of that Static Storm. No glimpse back lucky. He's not going to be so lucky now as he's going to be brought down one way or another. Returns for an Earth Spike, but a missile, if nothing else, would be lethal. It's going to be the Disruptor to get that kill. It started off so well for Next.KZ. They just weren't able to get out cleanly. Lone Druid didn't have his bear and still doesn't for about 15 seconds, but yeah, honestly, in that top fight, I have no idea why the IO would keep the Lone Druid around if he didn't have a resummon.
Yeah, it was a little bit awkward, but mid lane now, there's a charge coming in again. Leshrac, he just lost some blast zone charges, may lose them once again, although QWERTY, he has to react now, gets the Vendetta, gets a stun, but only onto one. But Han's ultimate just does a little bit too much damage, at least to the Spirit Breaker. He will go down in the end though. Healing a little bit with the Blast Zone death, but probably not enough for now. But the Spirit Bear gets one. Son of Darkness will go down with David relocating in for this copy. Can he TP out? He can. Also finishes his BKB. So in the end, Leshrac's death is kind of worth it, but that's 2 consecutive deaths, and he's lost like 6 Bloodstone charges within 1 minute. Yeah,
that's very unfortunate when you do go for this Bloodstone item on Leshrac. He's going to need to come back into the game a little bit more. They need to win a couple of fights in order to really make it worthwhile for them. 6 Bloodstone charges is respectable, I suppose, but any more deaths on the Lesh could be absolutely disastrous and make him regret going for the item. If you do have a Bloodstone with low charges, you'd much rather have gotten an Octarine Core. Well then, there's going to be a missile in mid and a charge onto poor David. The charge is still going to commence as the Spirit Breaker is coming in like a rocket. And speaking of rockets, the Gyrocopter is also following behind. He doesn't stop it, goes straight onto the IO. The Nyx Assassin also gets stunned. Nether Strike onto David. Where's the follow-up, however? There is going to be an Impel coming out from QWERTY, and they'll turn around a little bit, but Oi 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 is pretty darn tanky, and in the end, it's just traded cooldowns.
So, looks like North Legion in general have been slowing down now. If you look at the graphs as well, you can see that Next.KZ are claiming the lead, and it's growing for them as well. About a 3k net worth lead. XP, only a 1000 difference, but it's a lead for Next.KZ nonetheless, and the farming speed is just that much better for the Lone Druid. I do think that North Legion ain't really utilizing the farm speed the Gyrocopter can also have. Of course, without the Helm of the Dominator, maybe not as easy to farm, for example. They don't have Ancient stacks, or well they do, but it's only a double stack with the Ancient Thunderhide. He's like guarding the rest of the pack.
Yeah, Ancient Thunderhides are always a little bit finicky whenever they cast their spells. They can do some wonky things, and maybe that stops it from stacking again, who knows. Either way, Tier 1 Tower in mid's going to fall for Northern Legion, but the Blink-in Impel is going to miss, but they still get the root on the copy. He's able to pop the BKB and get out of it. Now turn around with the call down. The double BKBs is going to help them survive as Finger of Death is thrown into the Vengeful Spirit. In the end, that's going to be a 2-for-1 trade, and the Tier 1 Tower still falls for Northern Legion. If their Gyrocopter dies, that would have been really bad for them, but in the end, it's a slight victory.
They only needed one more attack from the Spirit Bear onto the Gyrocopter, but I think it was the Spirit Breaker's charge, maybe the Nether Strike. But either way, the Spirit Breaker got blown out of the kinetic field and couldn't re-enter it, of course. There also was patched for a little while. So Gyrocopter's escape was a little bit luck, and well, I guess partly also nicely played by North Legion keeping the Gyro alive. But it's still a DKB charge, like you said, and this Lone Druid Spirit Bear is actually starting to hurt quite a bit now. Also, Lone Druid just now finishes up the Helm of the Dominator. Extra armor for the team, just dealing with the physical damage output that North Legion has, negating at least some of the Medallion of Courage and the Wave of Terror.
Yeah, the lifesteal in and of itself isn't going to benefit very many heroes other than the Lone Druid himself, and mostly just the bear in all honesty, but it's still Nice to have for the team. Leshrac, he picked up the point booster, and I thought he might be going Aghanim's after the Bloodstone, but he decides that he needs a BKB, and I think that's completely reasonable with the amount of AoE damage that's thrown up from Northern Legion, in particular the Static Storm and the Call Down.
So if you're North Legion now, do you take a more passive approach to the game? Just start farming up a little bit, focus on that, just get your Gyrocopter farmed, and man, late game wise, it's probably gonna be rather even. Of course, BKBs will be going down to 5 seconds, and Next.KZ, like, one advantage that they may have late game is just the raw amount of lockdown that they have.
Yeah, and I think that honestly Next.KZ might have better late game. The Lone Druid's tower damage and hero damage is going to be pretty ridiculous inside the fights, and as you said, just the raw amount of lockdown. And Leshrac is not to be underestimated too. A 6-slotted Lesh, especially with the addition of the Octarine core item, is really a force to be reckoned with. The amount of damage you can pump out, and lifesteal too, is pretty crazy. Relocate down towards bottom, but it's a really sketchy one. They bring in the Lone Druid and the Bear. They'll go on to Lucky in the sidelines. Skull Down is going to catch pretty much everything out. The Bear is going to try to munch down the Venge, but can't even do that with the Glimmer Cape. Copy is going to be rooted after he pops the BKB, so he's stuck inside plays. The Lone Druid is trying his best to chase after him, but a charge forward is going to stop that. Next.KZ assassinates Gyro in the backline. Sonic Wave drops Kesekimba incredibly low. That's Lone Druid and Bear down. The Nyx Assassin is going to get yet another snipe, but will pay for it with his life. A 2-for-4 trade in favor of Northern Legion. That relocate was very suspect. The vision from Next.KZ was not up to snuff inside that bottom lane. If we take a look, they had no idea.
That was probably the biggest fight I think we had this game as well here. So North Legion, not only do they get the kill, or kills rather even, they might go for Roshan, but then again, we hope the Gyrocopter may lack the damage. But still, they're using that time nicely, just dewarding the Roshan area, so once they respawn, they may go for it, even risk it. It depends on if they see the Lone Druid having the Spirit Bearer or not. But that relocate, it's like, it went there to save the Lion, kind of, and it's just not worth even saving the Lion. Lion already has his blink, so just let him die.
Yeah, it was a very suspect fight in my eyes. Mantis is going to be picked up by Gyrocopter after the fact. His damage output at the moment isn't the greatest, but his next item should probably remedy that, no matter what it may be. Even so, Northern Legion are going to be really happy about that last engagement, especially since it secures an Aghanim Scepter for the Queen of Pain. Even though they were behind in net worth, that fight helps a lot, and when you take a fight without having vision and in such a compromising position for Next.KZ, net worth advantage when it's this small, even though they did have about a 3,000 net worth lead, I don't think that really makes up for that fact. It's going to end up costing them quite a bit as the graphs have both leveled out. BKB on Leshrac is certainly going to help next time around, but Zan didn't have it the first time.
Oh, we have a charge coming now. Oi has his eyes on the Leshrac. Of course, there's a BKB now on Leshrac as well, so his survivability definitely skyrockets with that one, given that he activates it in time. Also, he's just mostly going to need it up against the Static Storm, which at least isn't going to be Aghanim's buffed anytime soon.
Yeah, Disrupt Predictable for a blink, so the positioning for it should be pretty good. They might find a Spirit Bear, however. It's caught out of position, slowed down by, excuse me, the Queen of Pain, but with the Blink Impale and the follow-up on the copy, getting a Root even, they'll be able to kill off that Gyro, and now another Earth Spike catches out two Son of Darkness, as well as Oi are going to be chased down incessantly. Can Oi charge out of here? It's going to be glimmered up by the Vengeful Spirit, now charged down towards the south. TP attempt from the Vengeful Spirit, is that going to succeed? It looks like it will. The Split Earth is going to actually catch out the Spirit Breaker, however, as Zan is going to be able to snipe him over in the sidelines. Well played by the Leshrac, although he didn't get the Venge, he got a bigger target. Now they go straight into the Roshan pit with the Vlads on Depor there. They should be able to take this one with just the Lone Druid, and with a little bit of help from the rest of the team, it'll be very quick.
To rest that fight, it just felt so extremely weird, or that at the end of it, I was so certain that Leshrac is actually going to try to stun up the Vengeful Spirit, but didn't manage to get the Spirit Breaker. The AoE is massive as oh, Queen of Pain. Well, level 3 Sonic Wave, easy kills, and we have a pause here, but even with the pause, I don't think like any kind of strategizing for North Legion will help them stop this Roche.
No, definitely not. It's even Next.KZ 2 pause. We have no idea about the reason, but yeah, Roshan's already at 1420 HP, and Leshrac is apparently not here. That's awkward.
Well, it's... At least they are saying what the problem is. Of course, it was really nice of the admin as well to immediately like ask like what's going on. Usually when there's a poster, somebody's disconnected, so there's like no need to even ask what's happening, just somebody disconnected. Obviously you need to post, but they're having some PC problems, and hopefully those problems won't last for too long. Actually, I'm not entirely sure, but these teams here, yeah, they're actually countrymen, so to say. So I'm not too sure if they actually like practice against each other as well or not, but if it comes to like ping advantages, they should be in the same boat.
Well, the good to go is called up by Next.KZ, and we should be underway shortly. And we'll just see the remainder of this Roshan go down. Probably going to be given to Kesekimba himself, and as far as Lone Druid's next item of choice, it looks like it's going to be a Basher for him. He has a Belt of Giant Strength on his main hero. Oh, they actually give to Leshrac. Fair enough. Leshrac is a very good Aegis carrier. You can do a lot with that second life and full mana and health pool. And that is very scary inside the fights, although it does put a little bit more pressure onto Kesekimba to live. I think it's a reasonable choice by Next.KZ.
Yeah, the Lone Druid should be tanky enough, unless he really just runs into them alone, kind of. So I really also like it on the Leshrac, like you said, he can just do so much with a full mana pool, and of course health pool on top of that. Also, he's up to 2k gold, has himself a point booster. Aghanims or Octarine Core?
Let's see. Personally, I'd say Octarine Core. The extra tankability that it would offer would be really useful, and having reduced cooldowns on your Split Earth as well as Chain Lightning is also pretty slick, but instead, it's going to be Boots of Travel for him. He's going to go ahead and sell out his Votto for that one, so that's fair enough. He's going to stop for something intermediary beforehand. Boots of Travel is always nice to have on your Leshracs. Rotation coming out from Northern Legion, but they're not under the guise of smoke. They have one on the courier and are going to drop it, but this should be popped, or potentially is going to be popped, by the Vendetta Nyx Assassin. He's up on top of this high ground, but it looks like he guessed the wrong direction, but now he walks into it. Smoke is going to dissipate. Do they have detection? They instead go for the line over the sidelines. BKBs galore from the Gyrocopter and the Leshes. They burst down the Disruptor as well as the Queen of Pain. BKB on Queen of Pain was a little bit late, as Zan is still fighting to the best of his ability. He's going to pop his ultimate and has an Aegis, even if he goes down. Charge through the majority of the team. The Spiritbreaker now has to book it. He's going to end up getting hexed out by the Lion. And now chased down, the Spiritbreaker burn. Narut, as he was trying to charge away, is going to be the death of him. Vengeful Spirits disconnected and actually abandoned this game. That's so awkward. They can't get the Vengeful Spirit back into it. She's gone.
Did he really abandon this?
I see the abandoned icon.
I think it just disconnected,
Okay.
so maybe it's bugging out a little bit. But I sure as hell hope it wasn't an abandon, but really losing a fight that decisively. Your Gyrocopter didn't do anything. The chat is also discussing actually his Manta style purchase. It's just those Manta style illusions did nothing damage wise. They're not really tanky either, as we saw. This is going really bad for them, and well, they're gonna even lose Son of Darkness. He just wanted to come in, maybe throw out a Thunderstruck, although it's only level 1, so is it even worth it? But that's a lost tracks. They bought back for this. Cooldown is there, but Finger of Death randomly from Lucky Copy gets stunned by the Spike Carapace from the Flak Cannon, I believe. Pretty though, no Vendetta mana, so can't assassinate Copy, but tracks are down. Kechikimba TPing out from Dylan. Glimpse stops it, but the relocate gets him out anyway.
And then the Spirit Bear is also going to get out to safety as Oyoe drops low. Zan's fighting, and he still has that Aegis to the Immortal. Even if he goes down here, it doesn't matter. Vengeful Spirit is AFK inside the base. It's going to be a GG call coming out from Northern Legion. Next.KZ, although those early fights looked a little bit sketchy for them, the last few were just so dominating, and with their heroes, 3 points up the Edict at the end of the game for the Leshrac, and the Spirit Bear, who had a decent chunk of net worth behind him too. They were able to very cleanly take out Rax. It's going to be game 1 victory for Next.KZ.
So them just taking it slow, farming up the Lone Druid in the end, just worked out for them. Maybe North Legion should have focused a little bit more on farming as well in between their ganks. Just go for like single pickups with the Disruptor only instead of just going for 5-man all the time. But, well, it is a best of 3, so anything is still possible.
Yeah, we'll move on to that game too very shortly, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back here on hitbox.tv/GameShowEN shortly.